Good evening. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Olentangy Local Schools Board of Education regular meeting. It is a business session. It's Thursday, January 26, 2017, 6 p.m. We also have an executive session that we will adjourn for at the end of the evening that we'll bring up when we get to the end of our business. And we will go to executive session, but we will only return to adjourn. So with that, Mrs. Hatfield, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bartz?
Here.
Mrs. Patrick? Here. Mr. King?
Here.
Mrs. Fiesel? Here. And Mr. O'Brien?
Here. Would you all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, we will, are there any comments to tonight's agenda, changes or anything that we need to look at? Anyone? We could have a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Mrs. Hatfield?
Mrs. Fiesel?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mr. Bartz?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we're very pleased to have a presentation of our student mentorship program. With that, we'll welcome Linda Shank, the instructor for that. And it looks like a cast of several.
We just really want to thank you for inviting us tonight. Mrs. Miller and I have the privilege of teaching mentorship and teacher academy, and we brought some students tonight who are going to tell you a little bit about their experiences. So I'm going to turn it right over to them.
Thank you.
So, pass around. This is my binder that I made for Teacher Academy.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us where you go to which school you go to so we know who you are?
So I'm Josie McBurney Buell. I'm a senior at OHS, and I took Teacher Academy last year, my junior year. My Teacher Academy binder, which is what I'd like to show you guys, is the binder that has all of my writings and everything, my evidence and different things that I've written throughout the course of the year. It is going to give me college credit for the two colleges that I'd like to go to. That's Miami and Muskingum. They're the two that I've applied to. They both accepted me, and we're going to see how all of that plays out. But I've been accepted to both, and this counts as college credit. So this is my entire year's worth of Teacher Academy. So as I'm presenting, I guess, go ahead and look at it and pass it around. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about where I went. I went to 3 placements. My first one was a 4th grade classroom. It had 12 IEP students in it, so that was about half the classroom. That was a difficult class, but it was an awesome class to be in. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely my favorite part of the week. I loved going. The kids were great. They were super engaging. It's interesting to see all the types of questions that they want to ask you that are really easy questions, but they're things that are so easy that you're not exactly sure how to answer them. Just definitions of words you use every day. And as much as I loved that placement, I almost felt like it didn't really fit me because I liked the older classes. I was in an 8th grade English classroom next, and the older class, it was better discussions. You get more in depth with certain things. You get to know students a lot better. So I really enjoyed the elementary school classroom, but it was a lot of work, and I don't think I wanted to teach all subjects. So then in the English classroom, the thing that didn't quite fit for me was that I love reading, I love writing, but editing papers and revising and annotating wasn't really my thing. So I decided that, that probably wasn't for me. It was great to be there. The discussions were awesome. My last placement was in a high school math classroom. I was in an Algebra 2 class, honors and regular, and I love math. I'm in Calc BC this year, and I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And helping the students, I really like the small little things about teaching that math class, which were making the worksheets, making the answer keys, those types of things that most people, if you don't like this subject, are going to hate doing, and I absolutely loved it. So I knew that math was kind of the thing that I should probably do. I loved the level of education that I was working at. It was the high school level. That Algebra 2 class I loved. It was great. I was able to explain things in multiple ways to different students depending on how they needed it explained. If one way didn't make sense, try it another way. So it was a lot of trial and error and those types of things. And it was really interesting. I loved it a lot. The things that I got out of the class were I learned a lot about how to teach. Not just how to teach, but how to build rapport, how to get to know your students, different things like that. where you get the other side of teaching. So I'm a student. I see my teachers at work every day, but I don't really know what it's like to be on the other side of that. And so being at these placements and talking to teachers and asking them tons of questions, my mentor teachers were great about letting me know, what it's really like. How do they make their lesson plans? How do they balance it all? Because a lot of them had lives outside of school, believe it or not. Like, that's crazy. But it was really interesting to see that other side and see that it is a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding. And so I got a lot out of the program. So I definitely recommend it to other people.
The best thing that you said was that you learned what you liked and what you didn't, what grade levels you liked and what you didn't. And that's the strongest part of that program, because you knew you wanted to be a teacher, but you were able to figure out which age group benefited you. And that's great. I'm glad that you're getting college credit for it too, because when my daughter did it, she didn't, but it was very beneficial because she started out ahead of her teaching peers in college. But I'm glad that you're going to be able to get college credit for it.
At least out of an intro course, which, I
Right.
mean, even if I didn't, then it would still be more knowledge under my belt that I was able
Exactly.
to have.
Yep.
We previously had Josie here at a board meeting to be recognized for being one of our scholars, National Merit Scholars. So it's always great to know that one of our best and brightest is pursuing teaching.
Yes, and I think you have a long line of relatives that have gone to school here, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions about the program?
I do, because my daughter has to write her essay for it tonight. But how many days do you go to the classroom?
Yeah.
So I went 3 days a week, Tuesday through Thursday.
Okay.
Some days I went more times a week, or I went for longer periods of time. We do have a double early release, and if I had lunch we have the last 2 periods of the day, and then I had lunch right before, so I was able to leave during my lunch to go to my placement, go early, those kinds of things.
And how long were you at each grade that you rotated
The
through?
first 2 placements are 6 weeks long, and the last placement is 10 weeks long, and you can either split it up into like a 4 and a 6 or 5 and a 5, or you can go for the full 10 weeks. I went for the full 10 weeks because it was math and I really enjoyed that. So
And are you doing the mentorship program this year?
I'm not doing the
You're not.
mentorship program this
Teacher
year.
Academy.
I almost wish that I would have taken Teacher Academy a second year. I know that Mrs. Shank and I talked a little bit about making it like a
You could do independent study.
independent study
That's
kind of
what-
thing.
yep.
So I kind of wish I would have done that, but it's still knowledge under my belt. So
Yeah.
thank
Good
you.
job.
Thanks. So you can continue to pass that around or not. No
We'll-
worries.
we'll-
I know
we'll
it's a
give-
big binder.
We'll give it back to you eventually.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Gwen Coons, and I'm also a senior at Olentangy High School. This is my first year taking mentorship, and this year I recently became costumes crew head for my theater, and I discovered that's what I really wanted to do, so now I'm going to college for costume design, but I've never really worked in professional theater, so doing mentorship, I've been able to see so far 2 different sides. Right now I'm working with Imagine Productions in Columbus. They're doing Jesus Christ Superstar. So I get to help with the actual making of the costumes there. And then for my first placement, I was at the Alley. It's a vintage costume shop. So I got to help with the more retail side of costumes, which I discovered I don't like that as much. Just because you're stacking hangers and sorting through clothing. But I also learned that about communication skills with different people, with customers, especially customers that have short patience. I learned time management skills. It's been hard to take this class and go out and drive myself places, and also getting my resume done and other classwork. And it's also, it's helped me come out of my comfort zone. I wouldn't usually speak to people like this. It's gotten me better talking to adults, and it's built a connection outside of high school that I can come back to. The lady at the Alley offered me a job, actually, once I start college, so I can come back if I want to.
So where are you going to go to school?
I've applied to actually 11 schools.
Oh my gosh.
So right now my top ones are Baldwin Wallace and Miami, and I've already been accepted there. I just have to do some interviews for theater, so I'm actually getting my resume ready for that. So I've got some decisions to make. But.
And were you at the end of the school day too? So you had a
Yes, I have
Right.
11th and 12th period off, except for Mondays we have seminar in class. So my last placement, I'd go whenever I could. Marching band interfilled a little bit with my schedule, so I did more on Sundays until the end of my placement. But this placement, because it's professional theater, they go from 6:30 to 9 at night. So I do that Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then when it gets closer to show week, I'm going to be there almost every day.
wow. That's good.
Well, your speaking's terrific, so if it's brought you out of your shell, congratulations. It's very good. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Allie Ziegler, and I'm a senior at Olentangy High School. And for my mentorship, Gwen and I are both in the same class together. I was at Nationwide Children's Hospital in their hematology, oncology, and BMT floor, the 11th floor to be exact. And I truly enjoyed my experience. I got to follow many different doctors specializing in anything from sickle cell to bone marrow transplant. I got to see a bone marrow SI surgery. I got to see a spinal tap surgery, and it was just amazing listening to where all the doctors went and what they've done and what they've been through. I also got the opportunity while at Nationwide to mentor under Dr. Curlin in his lab at Nationwide, and we got to learn about kidney research through rats, which was interesting. I've never worked with animals in that capacity before, and I had such a fun time learning, and I figured out that's something I would like to do in college. Before, I didn't think I wanted to do research. I thought it was boring, and I thought I would not have any fun in the lab at all. But in being there and talking to the different doctors and working with Dr. Curlin, I found that I really enjoy research and lab work, and I think that's something I want to continue throughout my college career. As Gwen was saying, we have a seminar on Mondays, so we stay Monday for 11th and 12th period with our teacher, Mrs. Miller, and she's been teaching us everything to know about a professional and how to be a professional, and that's one of the biggest points she stresses to us is how to talk to people. I've learned how to communicate in the professional world. I was pretty good at emailing before, but now I'm very good at emailing. I've sent many emails to all my different mentors, and she's helped so much. We love her. My current placement is at a veterinary office. Dr. Mann, if you know him, over Cheshire Market. I'm mentoring there now. I saw the patient care side during my first semester at school, and now I'm seeing the animal side. And so it's really interesting to see the differences. At Nationwide, there's a very big protocol you have to follow in anything you do. I had to go through a training course. I had to get a background checked, ton of stuff just to be able to step foot into the Nationwide building. Opposed to Dr. Mann's office, where it's very relaxed, everyone's friends, you know everyone, you know your patients, and it's a really warm atmosphere. And it's nice to see the differences between the two. Another thing with Nationwide is I thought that doctors would know their patients, know everything about them, know what they liked, know what sports they liked, know everything about them. But that's not the reality, because they have so many patients that it's impossible to remember every little detail. And so that's what I love about my current placement is that the doctors know the people, and they know, like, oh, how was Christmas? How did little Sally like her toy? And it's just that warm atmosphere that I really enjoy. So thank you.
So now where are you gonna go to school, and what?
That's a good question.
Which way are you gonna go?
Originally, I wanted to be a biomedical engineer, and that's where I'm still leaning towards for the lab work. I'm kind of looking into veterinary school now, just trying to still figure out, still want to get through this placement and see what it's like.
But that's great. That's what this class is for, so that you can look at all the options, and then you don't get to college and say, oh, I didn't really like this. You know, you already know. You'll know.
Yeah. And I still have, mentorship offers you 3 placements, so I still have one more after this one. So I can go back to a previous placement, or I can try something completely new.
Do you know what you're going to do yet?
Well, I originally had lined up to be on the neonatology floor at Nationwide with the preemie babies, but the problem with that was that they have regulations during flu season, so I couldn't get on the floor because they don't allow many visitors in. So I might try to give that a go during the third mentorship. I also might try to find an engineering firm, because that's what is awesome about mentorship is you can go wherever you can find. If you can get in contact with someone and you can talk to them, you can go there. And as long as they're willing to take you. So I might look for an engineering firm.
Now, did you have problems getting in to Nationwide? Or, I mean, Dr. Mann, I'm sure that was probably pretty easy, but.
Nationwide was more of a challenge. I started looking at the Nationwide placement directly after my junior year, right in the middle of summer. I started emailing different people at Nationwide, trying to figure out who I should get in contact with. And I ended up finding their volunteer coordinator, Mrs. Woodard. She helped me out. She connected me with people. And it was also helpful that one of my friends who is in theater, his dad is a doctor, Dr. Curlin. He's at Nationwide. So that was kind of my foot in the door to say, oh, hi, I know you. And so that was my
But you've
way
learned
in.
networking now.
Yes, that's another great skill. Mrs. Miller talks about that all the time, to never set a bad impression with anyone, because I may run into one of you guys later on, and it'll be nice to know to have met you.
Yes.
Know if you have any more questions.
Great.
Any questions?
Yeah. I have questions for Mrs. Schenk and Mrs. Miller, because I brought a new report by the governor that he's going to be stressing internships and mentorships, and my concern is that we might have students who might have a difficulty finding placement. You know, like they want to go somewhere and the companies either won't allow them because they're under 18, or so. Can you talk about how you make those connections, how you help the students make those connections, and if you have found some industries that are kind of harder to get in for our students? Because I want to know, I'm going to be carrying some of this message back to the governor's office too.
We have found that when students have those networking opportunities with their friends and family, like for instance, Dr. Curlin, he actually has students at Olentangy High School. He had a student that graduated and a student who's currently there. So that buy-in is already there. So I think that certainly has served our program well, to have the support of our community, those directly connected with the school, and also just the surrounding community has, just really offered such a tremendous support. So many of our mentors and our prospective mentors say, we wish we had had an opportunity like that. So when they hear about this potential for high school students, most generally, and the other aspect of our program that we really stress is that the students take the initiative to make the initial calls, because it's much more, it seems like it's easier for a prospective mentor just to say, I don't have time, or, there's some protocol to go through. And if they talk to me, directly, it's oftentimes that they may say, well, we don't think we have time. But when a student takes the initiative, and they can see the potential there, and the fact that the student is so driven and really has these goals and dreams, to be a dream crusher, no one wants to be a dream crusher, right? So we have found that has served us well. And there have been some challenges within the medical field, especially with HIPAA, confidentiality. So there definitely have been some challenges there, and yet, like Allie said, she did the background check, they do their fingerprints, and just even going through that experience and letting students know, that there are, very specific requirements and expectations. So utilizing the volunteer service programs, even though we're a course that requires credit or that offers credit, a lot of times going through that avenue as volunteer services has served us well as well, even though we consider this more than, beyond that volunteer experience, because it's connected to a curriculum and they receive credit. And the ladies had their portfolios with them as well. So it's a bit different than the portfolio for the Teacher Academy program, but they show evidence of their professional communication and reflection through journaling and things that they do through their weekly assignments. So we've found overall there have been some challenges, but the support of the community is tremendous. We could not have this program without. And for as long as the program has been in existence, over 15 years. So we are so fortunate to have the support of our community.
Good.
Are the programs, are you connected all with our Business Advisory Council and the professionals that sit on that? Have we connected them or tried to make a connection
but that would
between
be a
the
great
community
idea.
business people?
And that's what I'm thinking too. You're going to hear
Don't
a
we have
lot
a
more of this
breakfast coming up?
when the governor
February
gives out
3rd.
his budget. He's really going to be pushing this type of program. Yeah, and I'm going to that meeting, your Business Advisory Council meeting.
There's
next
no
week.
doubt that, I mean, obviously the program's valuable.
Yes.
The experiences are.
Both of my
are
kids have gone through it, and I highly recommend it. One did Teacher Academy and one did
Recommend it
the internship program, so yeah.
And then, there's always competing priorities. Kids who want to take 6
Yes.
AP classes, and I mean, so you just, it's like everything.
Yeah, is that the thing that holds them back because they don't want to give up the 2 classes?
Typically.
Well, it is 2 periods,
Yeah,
but it sure teaches them time management.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a difficulty when you make something required for everybody.
Well, yeah, and that's what he's going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And we think that's a great
Try
idea.
to do.
Yeah, he's going to try to do.
I'm going to try to push through another
The-
unfunded
The
mandate.
experiences,
Right.
like, one of Amy's students mentioned networking, both of them
Yes.
did. And I remember years ago sitting with a student, and he wanted to work with an architectural firm. And we called and we called and we called, and he looked at me and he said, Mrs. Shank, I don't think we're going to, get one. And I said, let's, keep going. And it was like the next call, and he was with NBBJ, which I think is still around.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
And it was a fantastic experience.
Bruce, would you raise your hand back there, please? That's Bruce Runyon. This is, he's an architect. So, yeah.
Yes, we,
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
Well, I
done
didn't want to start a
business.
Bruce because Bruce was smiling, and then Mr. King obviously
Yeah.
is. So there's a couple connections for you.
But on the flip side, on the business side, we're going to be promoting it to the businesses too, because
Absolutely.
I found that a lot of businesses don't even know how to make the connection. So hopefully that will, I'm working with the governor's office to do a how-to sheet for businesses so that it's a win-win situation for the business and for the student. So, hopefully people will hear more and more about it and be more accepting of having students, because I hear that some won't take them if they're under 18, and so we just want it to make it a win-win.
One of my students who I currently am working with, and he had a placement with an engineering firm that he actually contacted with the help. He had some support from a parent, and it's called the GPD Group, and it's a national company. And this was something that was new for me, and I believe it's the first time for our program. So at the end of the first semester, they offered him to, and he's a senior this year, they offered that once he graduates, he can come back and work for them, and they will pay for his schooling, and he would work part-time for them, and his schooling would be paid for. And we've never had that I know of happen. So we were just elated, and the student, just did such a great job. And obviously that speaks for the impression that, he has given them with his work ethic, and he just was such a fast learner, and they just really valued him. And it was actually, we marketed it as an unpaid internship, and so they just thought he did such a great job that they wanted to pay him. Which again, students looking for employment and getting in a paid internship, I mean, it is such a win-win. We are just so grateful for this. We'd never had that before, but we're excited about potential opportunities in the future.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good.
I
Well,
want
thank
to share
you.
one
Yeah.
more thing too. This was a really cool thing. I'm sorry, I know we're taking too much time.
No, you're fine.
Otterbein and Ohio Dominican both came to us. The Teacher Academy program is accredited by the Ohio Board of Regents. And these students, if they score a certain percentage on the portfolio, which Josie overdid, they will get credit at any Ohio State school. And those two came to us this year and said, we want to buy in because we've seen this program, we've sent students there, and more and more kids are getting credit at schools simply because they take that portfolio. One of my past students is teaching at Orange High School. She came in right after her interview, and she looked at their portfolio and she said, I did this when I worked on my master's. So it's a very high level, that they're working at.
Yeah.
Well, don't you think it gives our students an advantage when they're applying to school over students that haven't had this opportunity?
The kids will come back from visits and say, I was the only one in the room who knew what they were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, because both of my daughters use theirs for their interview process into college. Yeah.
For internships.
Yeah.
I had a student just, she's another one of my current students, and she did an interview with Toledo for the University of Toledo for physical therapy, or occupational therapy, excuse me. And so she was able to bring her portfolio and use it for her interview at the university. And they were so impressed. And then another one of my students just sent me a note that she was accepted, and they, even in her acceptance letter, they noted that her experience, she was at the Delaware County Prosecutor's Attorney's Office, prosecuting attorney's office, excuse me, and they said, your experience there will serve you well in pre-law. So we were, again, just grateful. Our students, we have a lot to celebrate.
Good.
You're more than welcome to invite them to come
Josie,
to your interview day or the spring presentation. So if you want to tell them about that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you so
very
much
much.
for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll welcome Krista Davis, who's going to talk about the mobile app.
Yay.
So this is exciting, but surely difficult to follow that amazing presentation. All right, well, we figured it was 2017, so time to get a mobile app finally and communicate in today's world. So we're very excited about this. So what is the app? This is what it will look like when we have it, which will be February 14th. The app is a tool for on the go, because as we know, most everyone is moving way too fast to stop and look at a desktop. So they are on the go and need their information right here on their phone. So it's a place to get important information, especially, I think probably the key pieces on our app will be the calendar feature, the directory, and our news feed, which is called an activity stream. And then our launch date will be February 14th. It's going to be, we're going to talk about being our gift to Olentangy is this free mobile app, free to our users. So with that, we're going to just share a little intro video about the app.
That's right, we have an app. Go to the App Store to find a new, easy-to-use mobile app that will bring our district and schools to you in a fun and exciting way. We will show you how to engage with our community with the help of this amazing app. School calendars are utilized to display all the exciting events of our district in one location. With the app's calendar function, you can add any listed events into your own personal calendar on your mobile device, consolidating the dates and times you care about most. School notifications come in many forms, and keeping track of them all is tough. With our app, you can receive notifications straight to your mobile device. The app will alert you of any new messages received based off of the schools that you choose to follow and receive notifications from. Looking for a one-stop shop for all your school news? The Stream button allows you to choose what information you want to receive in one continuous flowing feed. By selecting a school to follow, you can stream notifications, social media news, and even calendar events all in one place. Show your school pride, engage our community, and download our new official mobile app.
So that is our video that we'll be sharing with the community through social media and the website to get them intrigued about getting the app. There, we'll talk about, so why do we need an app? Is it really necessary to have an app? I thought you might think some of these statistics are interesting. 74% of adults use smartphones or mobile devices as a way to get their information. Of those, 85% of user time is spent on apps, and 15% of their time is spent on mobile websites. So far more frequently are people going onto an app to get their information than a website from their phone. Desktops are considered a secondary touch point now. I know at work and and what we're all using our desktops or our laptops, but by and large, they're the secondary touch point throughout a day. Smartphone apps represent more than 50% of all digital media usage, including TVs, which I think is pretty surprising. So we will have in our activity stream the ability to have our videos and other digital media. And then a greater degree of functionality and integration. So that's what we're going to talk about. You know, as you saw through the video, there are a number of different places you can get information about the school district or our buildings through the different features of the app. What you don't see on the app is that it has a backside that allows us to change how we're communicating in Olentangy. So our current communications in our district, so kind of set the app aside for a second. Our current communications system that we've had in our district is that we have everybody opts in if they would like emails or text messages or phone calls from the district. So right now we don't know who all has opted in. It's up to them to select to sign up for a listserv. We have our website available for people to go to, so they have to opt to go to the website, social media, and remind text, which is not used at all buildings. It is at some, and it is not used at the district level. So this has kind of come together over time, and as technology has changed and people's needs have changed, I would kind of call it a patchwork of a communication strategy that probably does not meet all our needs. So that brings us to our current challenges. We aren't reaching all of our parents by a long shot through our current system because they have to opt in, and we don't know who they are by, it's just an email address on eye contact. With that, at the same time, we have some safety concerns, and this is probably the most important piece to me. We can't distinguish between parents and non-parents on our listservs. We don't know who is receiving this information. So if we needed to communicate something that is sensitive to a building's security, we would not know who we were sending that information to. We have some inconsistent methods of communicating across our district right now. Some buildings send a listserv every day, some send once a week, some send several times a day. They can be from half a page long to 20 pages long. And then it's one-dimensional. We email for everything, whether it's a crisis like a bank robbery in the area, or don't forget your book order form. We also email when, bus 33 is going to be late, and the only way we are able to get that out is to the entire building about bus 33, and, only probably 30 families want to know about that. So our new approach, our ability with the background of this app is to target intended audiences. We will be able to talk to our parents quickly with on-the-go convenience and timeliness, because we will be able to text, we will be able to call, we will be able to send a push notification and email with this. With that, we have had a conversation with every building. We have 5 left to go. We are going to be moving to one building newsletter a week. And that newsletter will not be a listserv message, but it will be truly a newsletter sharing news about what is going on in that building, and not reminders for forms and things like that, because we'll be able to use other means of communication to send simple announcements and reminders. And then we'll have one district newsletter a week. So some of you might be familiar with how things work when you have children in multiple buildings in the district. You see the same information over and over and over again. We'll have a district newsletter sharing district level information once a week, and then the buildings will be the building information once a week. And then we're not going to say the same thing 5 times in 1 week. We're going to say it once and have it available through the app on your activities stream and through our website. So with that, the results we hope to have is a safer environment, because we are targeting who we are speaking to, our parents. The way that we are going to be doing that, making sure that we have all parents opted in is through PowerSchool. So right now you might have seen some of our communication to parents to make sure your contact information is correct in PowerSchool. That is going to create what I call a master database of record. So we will have all student or parent information that is correct and up to date with phone number and email. So if we have to connect with every person in the district, you know, if we have a tragedy or something that's urgent to go across all buildings, we can easily connect with everyone, which we cannot right now. This will allow for consistent communication. So again, with the newsletters, we will be providing, the communications department will be providing all of our buildings with guidelines on how to put together a newsletter, follow our, you know, certain protocol with writing the story. The story will be posted on our website and they will link to that. So it'll be more of a newsletter to meet your needs when instead of reading a whole paragraph, you can just read 2 sentences and then click to learn more. So we'll be able to reach all parents, as I mentioned before, where we've not had that opportunity. And then, like I mentioned earlier, it's multidimensional. We can text, call, email, push notification, website, social media. With the app, you don't have to be on a social media site as a user to see the social media in the activity stream. As long as you get the app, you'll be able to see our social media in the activity stream. If you're not a parent, we want you to download this app, and this will be a way that we'll be able to engage community members that we haven't been able to before. If I wasn't working here, I'd be a parent of 2 graduates, but still very interested in knowing what's going on in the school district. I would download the app, be able to follow the district or the buildings that I would like to follow, and be able to keep up with the news that's important, you know, for an outside user, but doesn't tell me, you know, don't forget your book order form, because that doesn't, you know, I don't need to know that as a community member. And because our news stories will be on the website, we're really able to increase our website and our social media traffic through this tool, all of which we think is pretty great. So I'm pretty excited about this. We've had multiple vendors to provide these services. We have iContact, which is what we have been using for our building listservs, and One Call Now for our phone call systems, which was a $35,000 expense per year. Starting next year, the app will be $30,000, which is a savings of a little bit over $4,000 for us. The other important thing to note here is that our website annually costs the district $33,000, but we're not driving any traffic to the website right now. A lot of people don't even know it's out there, they don't use it, but the app will allow us to improve this investment that we have annually and be able to really expand on using what we already have built and support for the district. So with that, I thought you might want to download the app on your phones because we have a soft launch. What you'll download now is something that you will delete on February 13th and download the live version on the 14th. But what you'll see when you download it is actually, you know, a live app with all of our information. So iPhone, App Store, Play Store for Android, and you'll search for BB District right now because it's a soft launch. BB stands for Blackboard, which is the vendor. And then it will be Olentangy Local SD. And then you can download it. Select Olentangy Local School District.
No, because we must be locked down.
You're locked down.
Oh, I can get it. You can. Well, I can. I pushed install.
No,
Yeah,
BB?
BB District by Blackboard.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, I put
it says
BB.
sign in require. Oh, never mind. Got it.
Everybody doing it?
Got it. Okay.
Is it the Blackboard and then you select? And then you select the district. It looks like that, like the image on the right.
Okay, so you have to download it first and then select
And
the
then
district.
select Olentangy.
Olentangy
Opens like
local.
this.
Ta-da.
Oh, shoot, I don't remember my Apple password.
That's why you
Call
put
my
it-
kids.
touchscreen. Wow, so then you can select all the schools or which ones you learned?
You can. So in settings, you can follow everything. You can choose which schools you want to follow and what level of information you would like to follow. So as we've been meeting with each of the buildings, we're explaining this to them. So there are some buildings that have more web stories right now than others. So by February 14th, our hope is that you'll see a lot more information from various buildings as we go train them. So we have 5 more to go. They haven't heard the spiel yet, so they haven't necessarily updated their websites. So you can see, you know, our buildings have to update their website calendars, their stories, in order for this app to be populated because it aggregates from all of those locations.
Well, I think it's easy to pick the schools that you want to watch.
And then you can check that out in your
Yeah.
activity stream. So I encourage you to play around with it for the next few weeks. And there's a feedback button, so if you are so inclined to leave us some feedback about what you think is great, what you think could be improved, what you think is important to families, parents, students out there as we begin to really market this for the next few weeks, let us know. And then you can also leave a review in the App Store that will carry over for the day of the launch. People will see reviews already populated in the App Store. So
Now,
that's,
is the Twitter account the district's or Mr. Rafe's?
Is it fake Mr. Ray?
fake Super OLSD
Yeah.
is not connected to the app.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
The district has a Twitter account, and then in the superintendent section, his Twitter is aggregating in that section.
I'm not going to tweet you. Sorry, I refuse.
I have a question, since I don't know my Apple password. Can you get notifications for particular buildings and then, so I want to follow, I know at least 2, but then can I flip on, say, Olentangy High School if I want to see where the football game is?
Yes.
Without getting all their notifications?
You can tailor, so you could go to Olentangy High School and pick athletics.
Okay.
So you can create whatever information you want to receive. If you only want to know about Braves football, you can tailor it to just that in the settings with the athletics. So, for example, with the calendar feature, let's say a building is doing a fundraiser at Chipotle, and they have that on the calendar. You can add it to your own calendar. If you don't know how to get there, you can use your map GPS feature in your smartphone just straight from your calendar. So I foresee that being, especially with athletic events and other school functions that happen outside of their own building, they can go to other places. So I know you can explore all you want and ask questions later to me as well as you continue to look at it, but do you have questions now that I can answer?
So, and I'm sorry if you covered this, but
Sure.
So if I have my Power School, will this integrate with Power School? Or I still have to have both.
You still will have Power School.
Okay.
And
Schoology?
And Schoology. So Schoology continues to be the place where teachers at the classroom level communicate with students and parents, but there's a Schoology button on the app, so you can go directly to Schoology from the app. And there's a Power School button in there as well, and you can go right to your Power School account. You'll have to log in from there.
Hope I can remember that.
So we can put lunch money on from our car.
Well, we are still testing that and making sure we can do that, but you can for sure. I know. Look at their grades from your
And you
car.
can look at the menu.
And the menu.
Yeah.
And the menus for the days are not all loaded yet, but the menu
But you'll be able
features
to.
there, yes.
Yep. Is it pizza day?
It is just critical, though, we get all of our parents to
Yes.
update their Power School
gosh.
forms.
Already did it.
That's on my list to do this weekend.
Yeah. So definitely update your Power School. And I know that Rob Sexton will talk about this probably in a few months, but this is really the precursor to getting us to the back to school forms being online. This is really acclimating parents also to making sure that their information is up to date through their Power School account. So we'll continue to do this, but it's really important right now. So if we had a snow day, February 14th, we'll still use the old system. I don't want anyone to think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But if, we've overlapped the contract so that we, won't be without, just in case we don't have as much of our Power School information updated as we would like.
So the calls will stop, right? The phone notifications?
We will
Hopefully.
still be using the phone for cancellation or delays and cancellations, but we will be using the app that allows us to call. So instead of using the One Call Now vendor, we will be using the Blackboard app vendor to make the phone call.
Okay.
Federal laws have changed as of this past August, so we are not able any longer to make calls that are not related to emergency level type calls. We can only make attendance calls and cancellation and delay calls. So, and politicians can still make calls.
But that, like those push notifications, if we go out into a lockdown or those kind of things, are just going to be so much more quick. They happen so much more quickly.
Yes.
From a safety standpoint.
Because nobody's going to go to their email on their desktop to see, oh, what's going on? There's a lockdown or something that's happened in the area. They're going to.
Oh no, they go to the PAL bubble.
Well,
We still won't be ahead of the kids, but we'll be closer. We'll be
Yes.
at least catching up to them.
We'll be hopefully a lot faster with this.
So how do we get people to put the app on their phone? Is it through?
I'm sorry, I missed your question.
How do you get people to put the app on their phone?
We will be marketing this like crazy. We will have posters, social media notifications. We will do little contests and fun things like that in the coming days to get ready for February 14th, and then we'll just do a big blitz on that day. And we'll keep going because, a launch isn't just one day. We'll
It's in our
be doing
quarterly
it for...
newsletter. Tom Gallick's going to write a story on it.
Yes. We did do our quarterly newsletter that is in the mailbox bags. That will be on mailboxes Sunday, and that has a front page story about the app.
Good.
So we'll, in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we will be saturating people with information about it and reminding them to update their Power School.
Right? Your Facebook page.
If he's on Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Julie Fiesel, Olentangy SB.
Yeah.
Say it.
Any other questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll go into the board's president report. Just a couple of quick things. One, I just wanted to point out, this past Monday, we had the school advocacy committee meeting. And Holly Hansen and Julie and Mindy were there as our hosts. And they welcomed in Representative Andrew Brenner, who came in to talk about his attempt in lame duck session in the fall to present a new school funding formula. He explained it a little deeper to the crowd there. It's
A
extremely...
little more than a formula change.
Yeah, it is quite a topsy-turvy change with lots of on and off ramps, I guess is the best way I would put it. It's going to be a tall order for him to get buy-in. That's just a personal opinion. But I think Julie expressed it best that night, is at least he's trying to address
To start a
the
conversation. Right?
Yeah.
20-plus year attempts at the DeRolf decision, which said that the current formula is unconstitutional. But no one's wanted to take up that crowd. So very ambitious, but it was a nice presentation. I think there was probably 20-plus people there for that.
And new faces,
Some
which
new
was
folks
fun.
too, yeah, which was really refreshing.
And a Big Walnut person came because they
Yeah,
wanted to
that's right,
find
the
out
gentleman from
stuff
Big
too.
Walnut.
Yeah.
And then finally, I just wanted to say that, we're approaching these public forums around redistricting, and I hope that at least my message is to remind parents that this board and all of our staff are going to continue to be committed to our kids and their educational opportunities. Regardless of where those kids go to school, they will get a quality education, a top 10 education here in the state. And as I can attest to, which I've said ad infinitum, is that we moved Alex 6 times, and he turned out pretty okay. So I guess I'd respectfully ask parents, if they're paying attention to tonight's meeting or look at the presentations tonight, that they'll continue to please provide their comments and ask questions, but I'm hoping that they'll remain focused on supporting whatever changes that are coming. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Rafe.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. I do want to point out, Mr. Wright and I have a former student in the crowd. Mallory's a law student. She's taking an educational law class. She's a law student at Ohio State, so
Good for her.
she might be somebody contacting you in the future asking questions about school boards.
That we need more attorneys that are more.
She's not billing us.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna hopefully maybe help her make a connection with our legal team, because we got a great legal team. So she's a great student, great family over there at Liberty. So welcome. Start off sharing a couple good things. We recently got notified by the College Board that we have been recognized again as an AP District Honor Roll recipient of one of only 433 districts in the United States and Canada to receive that honor. As you've been told over the years, right now more than 76% of our students take an AP class or college credit plus courses and earn college credit. So we're going to have a formal presentation to the board on February 14th, but just couldn't wait to share that good news. It's
That's a lot of students. Oh my gosh.
Yes, and continues to increase, and you know, our students continue to challenge themselves with those courses. So we have another opiate awareness public workshop coming up. We have previously held those at Liberty and Orange High School, but coming up on Thursday, February 2nd, we'll be hosting it at Olentangy High School. It's really been very well received by our community, just raising the level of awareness with the opiate addiction throughout the state. So proud to be doing that. And then our Gifted Parents Seminar is coming up on February 7th at Berkshire Middle School. We have Lisa Van Gemmert, who is going to be talking about helping gifted children reach their potential. So I'm looking forward to that presentation. A couple of discussion items coming up next. Krista and Randy will be up here to give a final update on the attendance boundary committee as we head into forum season. As that process comes near to completion. Mr. Gordon's going to give an update on the business office agenda items that you'll be voting on. So I wanted to make sure we were giving a public presentation on those and make sure you had an opportunity to ask questions on those business office items. And then Mr. Fetty will be doing a first reading of a new policy, another board policy. I know we just did a packet of board policies, but there's been a recent legislation change. This was related to the bid limit, so we thought we would update this in order to help expedite our construction process. And then 3 change order items here. Mr. Gordon's going to discuss that change order item on the Berlin High School project. Got a big purchase of 12 buses for next year, which is a normal purchase for us, yearly purchase, and then the camera systems that go into the buses. So again, Mr. Gordon will be giving our update. A couple other important dates coming up. Our 3rd annual Equity Inclusion, I've spoke about this previously, is February 1st at Liberty High School. I again encourage you all to attend that. And then our next board meeting is February 14th already. They come fast. So with that, I'll take any questions. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Rafe.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hatfield, would you present your treasurer's report, please?
Absolutely. We wanted to update the board that we had our first insurance committee meeting today. We met with approximately 25 members, which represented administration, certified staff, classified staff, and our union representation, and other administrators in the district, principals, not just central office administration. We had our insurance brokers come to us. Milestone Benefits Agency came out and really helped facilitate great conversation about what our plan actually is, what the terminology is for insurance, medical insurance, what does the maximum amount of pocket mean, what are co-pays, and just kind of walk through all those nuances so that we're all starting from the same page and have a good base education of what our current plan is, what's involved. And then we hope to meet our next meeting in March to kind of start working on that process of looking at our plan, making some reform changes and nuances, and really kind of understanding how we can make it fiscally sustainable for the district. So we're excited for that work and moving forward with that. We plan to work on that probably every other month to try to have the meetings. We're trying to be cognizant of people's time off and time away from their students and time away from their current duties. So we think that'll be a good fit. Maybe take a little bit longer lag in the summer, but then continue in the fall and get to a good place and really have a good understanding of what we can do with our insurance plans. So we're excited for that work. Other than that, we do have some treasurer action items tonight for your approval. We have the November and December financials, and we're currently, tracking on course with our expenditures compared to the October forecast. We have our minutes for the December 8th meeting, appropriation adjustments. We have our alternative tax budget for 2017, and that's really just it's a legislative item that we file with Delaware County to give them estimates of where we think our revenues are going to be, and that helps them kind of take a look at our financials and know where we think we're going to be. And so when we come back then in June with our permanent appropriations, they'll look at those numbers compared to what we want to budget and have a better idea of whether our resources will cover those. So that's why we file it now, and then we'll file the budgetary side of that financial piece with them in June after the forecast. And then also for donations, we have several donations. We have donations from our Glen Oak PTO for a storage shed at Glen Oak. We have Wyandotte Run and Liberty Middle School PTO who have come together to help with the installation of an outdoor learning center at Wyandotte Run Elementary. The Olentangy Athletic Boosters and the Olentangy Liberty Athletic Boosters who are donating funds for additional assistance in girls lacrosse and Liberty High School swimming coach. So we appreciate those donations from our support groups and appreciate that they are helping our students give more educational resources and different opportunities for them. So we thank them for those donations. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Sim.
Wait, I have one. How many people are on the insurance committee?
We have 25 members. It's a great representation, I think, across the board of certified hourly employee, unionized employee, administrative. We did invite also a member of our finance and audit committee. She was just unable to attend the first meeting due to scheduling. But we have other members that are that kind of serve in that role too that were available and able to come. So it's really a great mix of the entire staff community, I would say. Thanks. You're welcome.
It was really positive, really positive. All right, sorry.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. No, I just said it was a really positive meeting. The union, the leaders of all the unions were there, and then obviously having classified, just some secretaries, because all these people. And it was Todd did a good job by also helping put together information, and it was really a good start. They were very receptive.
Absolutely, a lot of great questions, respectful questions, just trying to get to know the policies and how it's comprised and how to move forward. So we're excited for that work.
Good.
I was pleased to hear you mention that somebody from finance and audit would be there with appropriate background.
Absolutely.
Other questions? Great, thank you. Ms. Hatfield, do we have any public participation comments
No, we do not.
for session one? Then we'll move to our discussion items, and we'll welcome back Mrs. Davis and Mr. Wright to talk about the Attendance Boundary Committee.
Good evening, everyone. I know when we last met, Mr. Rafe and Mr. Bartz kind of indicated I may be sitting up there in that chair, and so thankfully I'm here tonight instead.
Well, I don't know, it
But
depends on where you're sitting, but.
correct. Well, I think from your perspective, you're thankful as well. But Mr. Rafe did give me the honor of sharing on behalf of DLT our appreciation again to the Board of Education as we wrap up Board of Education Appreciation Month. And on behalf of our team to you, we present you each with gifts of flowers, take home to adorn your favorite shelf. So wanted to share that for you. And again, just thank you all for what you do for us and the support that you provide. So with that, Chris is going to share an update, and then we will take any questions at the end.
And if you would like a bag or a box for your flowers, we have that in the kitchen to get them home. Okay, so from the last time we updated you on the Attendance Boundary Committee, we have met 3 times. We met in December and then twice in January, and as recently as last night. During that time, the committee was able to finalize 2 scenarios that are K-12 scenarios to present to the community for feedback. Those scenarios will be presented online tomorrow. I know, tomorrow afternoon. They will be available
6
for
a.m.
review.
or-
No, not 6 a.m. No, we've still got to record them, so it will be more towards the end of the day when they will be posted. So what will be posted is exactly what will be delivered at the 3 community forums. We want to give people the opportunity, if they can't make it to a forum or they want to process the information before they get to the forum, to have that presentation online, and they can view it as much as they need to in order to understand it. So the 3 community forums will be Monday, January 30th at Liberty High School, February 6th at Olentangy High School, and February 13th at Orange High School, and they all are at 7 p.m. We have had a pre-registration for the forums because we want to make sure we have room for everyone. We have 700 spots, essentially, room for 700 at each of the forums. As of this afternoon, we have 395 registered at Liberty, 148 at Olentangy High School, and 101 at Orange High School. So we're emphasizing that they're all the same forums. You don't need to go to the forum where you reside. You can go to any one of those forums, depends what works for your schedule. And if none of those dates work for your schedule, again, the online option exists. We will be collecting all feedback online as well. So there will be an online form to gather feedback, which I'll talk about in a second. The one difference, obviously, from an online presentation to the community forum is that once the presentation is delivered by Scott Leopold from DeYoung Richter, we will have our committee members in the commons area of each of the schools with giant maps, and it will be an open house forum for people to come up and ask them questions and get clarification if they didn't understand something. So we went over all of that last evening with the committee, and they will be ready to go after each of the presentations at each of the forums. So that's the difference between being able to see it online. You won't have that interaction with the committee members at the forum. So those will be obviously kicking off on Monday, and then that online form will be open from tomorrow through February 16th. We are not looking for a vote on scenario A or scenario B. I'll say that again. We are not looking for a vote on one scenario or another. What we will be looking for in that online feedback is what people like about each of the scenarios. There's going to be components of one that somebody likes and different components of another. They might like feeder patterns in one scenario and utilization in another. So we want to hear those types of comments in the feedback. So I think they covered all my notes there. After all that feedback is collected at the end of February 16th, the committee will meet March 7th and review all the feedback plus everything that they know from all of the research and work that they have done, and then they will form a final recommendation to Mr. Rafe, who will make his decision in mid-March and announce that. So again, we've got the online presentation, the 3 community forums, that online feedback window from tomorrow through February 16th, 1 more committee meeting, and then a final recommendation to Mr. Rafe so he can make his decision and announce that. So, and that will wrap up our process. And I think with that, we'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All
These guys are
right.
doing a great, they're really doing a great job running a great committee. And Chris has commented repeatedly at a lot of the meetings we've been at, how professional, how respectful, how even if people aren't particularly, they're in an area that looks like it might get, recommended to move, they're putting aside their personal agendas. So we're just very fortunate that they're able to look at everything objectively.
All right. With that, Mr. Gordon, business office update, please.
Good evening. I will try to be brief with these. I have several items on the agenda, 2 of those items being easements, one at Liberty Tree Elementary School, as requested by the county, and that is to extend their sewer trunk line from Sawmill Parkway up to the north. Currently, behind Liberty Tree Elementary, we have a lift station there for the sanitary. Once this trunk line is installed and the county is able to move their master plan and move that up, that lift station that they currently have an easement for there will go away, and this will replace it. The second one is the deed for temporary, for doing, they need a wider area for construction than they need for the actual easement for the sanitary. And this line, if it wasn't clear on the drawings, will be to the west of the building, and we have some detention pond and some field as it goes to the west, so it won't be on any of the part of the elementary where we are currently mowing or currently maintaining. I'm going to jump over and come back to the change order. The fourth item on the agenda was the emergency drive easement next to the tennis courts here at Olentangy High School. I believe it was last spring the board had approved an original easement there to Triple T Investments, who was in the process of selling the building, and they paid us for an easement at that time. They've since transferred ownership to the employees, and so this gives the employees the same easement with the building as what the original owner had with that. And that is, we get many of these at our different school buildings when we have developments or businesses next to it, because the fire department always wants two ways to get in and out in case of emergencies. So we are generally accommodating to our neighbors in doing this. So as Mr. Rafe mentioned, we have the purchase of 12 school buses. As I think most of you are aware, we do our purchasing of school buses through the what used to be MEC, now is Meta, and we do that in a group of school districts across the state and get really good pricing, as well as meet the mandate for bidding for school buses with that. And the Angel Tracks video, that's something that we don't bid out. That 2 years ago we did a research of picking a vendor for that and what we thought was the best product. So now that we've kind of standardized on that, so we are adding those each time and keeping the same system so that we don't have multiple systems throughout the buses. So the last item on the agenda is the change order at Berlin High School. As I had mentioned, I shared in the memo that the reason for the change order, the majority of the reason for the change orders is, we had a tight timeline from the time we started planning the high school, and then of course passing in the bond issue in the spring and starting construction. The key point of all of that, meeting that timeline of being completed in the summer of 18-19, was that we were able to get foundations in yet this fall, or last fall, in order to be able to do the work that we're currently doing throughout the winter. To get all of that done, we did not have the luxury of going through the final permitting process with the county. We worked with the county for them to give us permission to start our site work as they finalized the plans and went through their plan review. So as we went through that plan review, we met with the county several times. We talked about items such as the offsite utilities that we were putting in for the county, the sanitary, water lines, things that we needed to get up to our building, as well as our portion of Pyatt Road. Well, when you have that many off-site items, as well as an 80-acre site that we're building the school on. It's not a quick process for the county, obviously, for them to go through as many projects as are going on in the county, for them to review everything and get that back. So they were kind enough to work with us and letting us move forward and approving things as we went. So we bid that project, the site work, in June through Gil Bain, our construction manager at risk, knowing we did not have the full documents. So what you see here today are there's not any one big change, it's a lot of smaller changes. Move this drain line here, things that were increased where we had added structures or other items that the county can make, well, we think we need 2 more manholes here, or move this drain line, or up the size of this line. Those different things that occurred from the time that we bid in June to when we got our final permit set in the fall for that site work. The one thing I will share with you is, it's the advantage of having Mr. Runyon and Mr. O'Sullivan, who've been with us for a while, is when the original subcontractor submitted the change order, they went through that fine-tooth comb with our construction manager. We're able to actually get those costs down $50,000, almost $60,000 from what they originally submitted to us. So it wasn't something that we took lightly or did not really spend some time on. But we really went through that change order to get down as low as possible with that. So.
Couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
So that's about 35% of the contingency, and that's coming out of the owner's contingency, right? Or is
Yes.
Yeah, to the 259.
Yeah.
So with that and the way the county moves, is there any anticipated other permitting issues that may get hung up with our timeline where you would have to start construction or move parts of the project forward, for which the county may indeed say, you go, but by the way, I'm going to change it later? Or is there any anticipated
we're not
issues like that?
anticipating those. We have some other permits. The concession stand is a separate permit. The grandstands are a separate permit, and I think there's one more small one. Those are small items that, now that the site work's done, are really just permitting because they're separate structures. So we're not anticipating anything there. Okay. We do have a couple items that we've pulled out. One of which is the irrigation on the practice fields. We felt like as we were going through that process, the price for that was quite a bit higher than what our local vendor is using. So we may do some things like that, the irrigation out of our owner's contingency. We reserved that by pulling it out. We just felt like we could get better pricing with it from what we were seeing as we went through that. So there are a couple small items like that. We are not anticipating any larger items, and we have not used the construction manager at risk also has a contingency.
Right.
And we have not tapped into that yet either, and anticipate very little of that as well. So, okay. Yeah.
No, just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Now, Mr. Fetty, first reading of some board policy updates, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
One policy update, policy on purchases. Senate Bill 3 was passed at the end of 2016, intended to ease some regulations on school districts. So we are proposing to amend the policy to change the limit for purchases that require a bid from $25,000 to $50,000. Any questions?
This is probably the only one in that bill, the only item in that bill that we will ever take advantage of.
That's correct.
Yeah, agreed. And I think we talked about this last year or before that, about having that flexibility. And so I think that makes sense. Any other comments, Mr. Petty?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mrs. Hatfield, any other comments for session 2?
No.
Participation? Would you please present your treasurer action items then for approval?
Yes, please. I present action items A through E for your approval.
So moved.
I'll second. Go ahead, Mr. King.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Bartz.
Yes. Mr. Rafe, will you please present your superintendent action items?
Yes, I'd like to present superintendent action items A through K for approval.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Sorry. With that, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Patrick,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mr. Bartz.
Yes. With that, just a quick reminder that our meeting, first meeting in February is the 14th, moved from the 9th. I think all the calendars are current. We will now go into executive session per Ohio Revised Code to consider the employment of public employees. So with that, we will go to that session and only come back to adjourn. So you do not have to hang around for us unless you are so inclined. With that, if I can get a motion to move to executive session.
So moved.
Mr. King, a second, please.
I'll second.
Mrs. Patrick. Any discussion? Mrs. Hatfield, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mr. Bartz?
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Please drive safely on the way home.